and welcome back to BookTube with Amy. Today is going to be my most recent weekly wrap up. So it's been a bit of a mix, reading week, but I've a couple of books to talk to you about. So the first book I started was Dead Inside by Chandler Morrison, and this was on my Indie Accords Indie August TBR, so finally decided to pick it up. I've had it on my shelf for a wee while. Millie over at the Introverted Millie read it, and she says it was the most disgusting effed up book that she had ever read, which automatically made me think it was a me book, so I bought it. And I regret this purchase. I DNF'd this book at 50 pages, thought it was terrible. So the basic premise is that we have a security guard who works at a hospital, and he breaks into the morgue at night and fucks dead bodies, and he meets a nurse who also works at the hospital, or a doctor who works at the hospital, and she likes to also break into the morgue and eat dead babies. Filth! Now, I didn't stop reading this book because of the premise. I don't mind, things that are a bit taboo or gross. I don't mind if an author wants to, push a boundary, as long as it makes sense and as long as it is reasonable for those characters to do those things and take part in those actions. Why I DNF'd this was, well, because the writing is terrible, to put it bluntly, and I'll get a wee bit more into that in a minute. And also, like, the author just comes across like a total wank, so it just wasn't really for me. So this is written like a diary entry of some sorts, and that is just like never my favourite writing style. I feel like I never get as much out of a novel when it's written like that, because it always just comes across as a bit ugh. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I just never connect to the character the same, because I feel like the characters like try to show off a bit, which the character in here definitely was. Like, there's a scene where like it's like our first experience of encountering him with a dead body, and like it was like, oh, and then like this is what I do, and then this is what I like, and then this is really going to gross you out, like, and if you didn't want to read about this then you better turn away now. And it's like, get to the fucking point, mate, like, come on. It came across very poor. I didn't like the way that it was written. And then also, like, it keeps making fun of like other books and stuff in here as well, which I just always find a wee bit annoying and like weirdly judgy and gatekeepy, which just is like my bugbear. Like, we all know how much I hate people judging other people on what they read. Like, I talk about it all the time, does my bloody head in. Like, everybody should just be reading what they enjoy, and like that's fine. Like, no judgment, read what you like, unless it's like story of the eye, because don't bother. But aye, like, he pokes fun at 50 Shades of Grey in here. And he's like, oh aye, like, if you're wanting like to pick up mummy porn and you enjoyed 50 Shades of Grey, then like this isn't the story for you. And like, fine, like, if it's a wee bit of a quip, like, I get it, but like, why are we poking fun at books that are very successful and loads of people enjoyed? Like, I hated them, they were no my cup of tea. Like, I thought they were poorly written and the content was piss poor, but I'm not going to slag anybody else for enjoying them. Like, so that was weird. And then like our main character, like, is a wee bit of a, well, he's obviously a loner, isn't he, because he fucks dead people, so like he's not the warmest of gentlemen, no pun intended. And like, when he meets this nurse, like, they had to off right away, and all of a sudden they're just like divulging all their deepest, darkest secrets to the other person, even though they don't actually really know each other. So like, it was just wildly unrealistic, and I didn't buy into their relationship at all. And the whole thing of the woman eating the babies was just like massively unrealistic, that I was like, this isn't even gross, because it is so clearly fake. Aye, she is like making wee quips and jokes with him, like, oh well, you're into sleeping with dead folk, so like you obviously read XYZ and listen to XYZ bands, and like that, I don't know, I just really didn't like the way it was coming across. And like, it's a tiny book, so I could have persevered and finished it, but I was like, why am I bothering? I'm not going to give this author the time of day. I am not interested in what the book is trying to say, and frankly I don't see it going anywhere interesting. Like there was no social commentary around like our main character and his interests at all. Like I wasn't sure if it was maybe going to go down like a bit of an incel route, like, and it could have been like some social commentary there as well as to why our main character felt he needed to do this. Like there wasn't. It was just because he enjoyed it. Like cool, fine, but boring. And I didn't feel like it was going to go anywhere profound or interesting or anywhere near the realms of what I would enjoy when it's a book that's trying to push some boundaries and be a bit gross. So I DNF'd it. Let's move on with my life. And then I read Chaos Reigns, Oath Broken by J. Smith. So I was buzzing to get to this one. I didn't manage to squeeze it in like at the indie Accords from a bingo board, so I knew I was definitely picking this up for indie August. And can we just take a minute to like talk about how gorgeous this cover is, because it's just so stunning. So I purchased a copy of this because Jared, who writes it, was my 500th subscriber, and he reached out to me on Twitter and was like, I've read this book, would you like a copy? So I actually ended up buying a copy because it just sounds like a me book all over the back. So we have our main character Caleb, and in the beginning we aren't quite sure of his magical abilities and what has happened in the past. We just know that Caleb is magical and can use the full range of his powers, and then he goes to like a friend's event and meets a whole host of new characters. His friend goes missing, and then some shenanigans ensue while he is trying to find his friend. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought that it was so fun. The characters in here were really great. I really loved Caleb and I really enjoyed Sam. They were two of my favourite characters. I'm going to try and talk about this without giving away spoilers. I didn't really connect to any of the female characters in this book, and I think that's what let it down for me. We get the book for Caleb's perspective, it's single POV, which we know, like, I'm a multi-POV kind of gal. So maybe that's why I didn't connect with some of the other characters as much. Because I was only really getting it for Caleb's perspective. But I did really like Sam, who is Caleb's best friend. But the female characters in here, they just weren't it for me. I didn't really like any of them. But it was Caleb that was getting me through, to be honest. I really enjoyed the plot in the book. I thought that the plot was really well done, and this is going to be a series, and it is a series that I will definitely continue with for sure. I enjoyed it, I had fun. Like I say, I really liked Caleb. The writing style in this is very reminiscent to J. Kristoff's writing style for me. I think that if you like J. Kristoff's characters and you like his world building, then you're probably going to really enjoy this. And while I am not a J. Kristoff fan by any means, I actually thoroughly enjoyed this because I feel like the characters were a bit more relatable than how J. Kristoff builds his characters, and like I actually bought into the plot in this book, when I never buy into any plot that J. Kristoff ever writes. The only thing that annoyed me a wee bit about this book, again, other than not really connecting to a lot of the characters, was some of the dialogue I think at times came across a wee bit juvenile. Like there were times where like we were just overly talking about fucking, like and there just wasn't a need for it. And it wasn't like smut, like it wasn't like, no, that's not what I mean. Like they were just like joking about it and like, you slept with who, and like that's never really my bag. But I get that these are sort of I guess young, I was going to say young adults, like I'm sitting here in my dotage, like maybe slightly younger than me characters, and so like I get that it would make sense for their friend dynamic and like sort of for the lifestyle that they lead for them to be saying these things, so it does make sense for the characters, but that's just never really my preference. I'm a wee bit like, oh, like can we just get back to the magic please? But I really did enjoy this, and this is a 4-star for me. I would recommend anybody who enjoys a really solid magic system to pick this book up, because I found the magic in here to be really interesting. Anybody who is a fan of like paranormal romance would probably enjoy this, although it is no as romancy as some other paranormal romance, but there is definitely romance in there. But I had a really great time. I had fun reading it. I did this part physically, part on Audible as well. I would recommend the audiobook. I've seen some reviews on Goodreads of people not really enjoying the audiobook as much. I thought the audiobook was fine. I enjoyed the narrator. I didn't have any issues with that at all, so like definitely check that out if that's how you prefer to read. I really enjoyed it. And then I read Dead and Gone by Charlaine Harris, my next Suki book. So this was book 9, I think, for Out of the Coffin Read Along. Aye, 9. Yep, definitely 9. And I'm not going to say a huge amount about this because I'm obviously going to talk about it in the live show, which I believe will be on Angie's channel this time. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great just to jump back into the wee world. I again promised that I wasn't going to read it right away. I again promised that I wouldn't read it in one sitting, and I just binged it whilst I played Skyrim, and it was phenomenal. There's quite, like, the plot in the book as the series is going on is like absolutely ramping up. There was a couple of books there at the beginning where like you could definitely tell like the plot was secondary and we were focusing on some really good character development, whereas now that we're sort of later in the series, it's like this is happening, that's happening, this is happening, this is also happening, and you're like, whoa. And these books are tiny, and I am always just hugely surprised at how much Charlaine Harris manages to fit in, as well as it feeling like you've had enough time with your characters and you're still getting some really good character growth, as well as it's still having like that really slow, low stakes, cosy vibes at times. So it just absolutely blows my mind. She's such a phenomenal author, and like after I am finished with Out of the Coffin Read Along, I am definitely going to pick up some of her other works for sure, because she's amazing. She's just been blowing me away. I've been thoroughly enjoying these on a reread. This was another 5-star for me, no surprises. And then I read the short story that we need to read after Dead and Gone, and this is called Two Blondes, and this was a Pam and Suki adventure that I was like 1000% here for, because I love Suki, she's my fave, but I also love Pam. Pam is also my fave. Pam is just like the perfect level, sarky, sassy, snarky. She's just my idol, to be honest. She's who I would like to be in life. She's a legend. And so like the two of them just like going on a wee girls trip and a wee adventure together was just hysterical to me, because Suki is just like sheer optimism and fun and joy, and Pam is just so over it. She's like, no. So this was absolutely brilliant. I have been loving the short stories. There's no a single short story that I've read so far that didn't add something to the world for me. Like they either add something to the world or they just add like a real sense of enjoyment, because I'm getting to spend some extra time with some of my favourite characters. They've been absolutely brilliant and I thoroughly enjoyed them. So in this one, Pam and Suki ventured out to some other territory because they have been commissioned by the new king of Area 5 to head out and maybe see about poaching some territory, which, you know, dangerous, and Suki doesn't get told that that's why they're going until she is there, and Pam and Suki need to masquerade as strippers in order to gain access to a strip club to, you know, talk to this other vampire about trying to steal some of his casinos and stuff. It was hysterical, to be honest, trying to see the two of them navigate being strippers when Suki, like, she's by no means a prude, but like she will like only really be open and flirty and things like that with the person that she is with. And Pam, like, for all she is a game old bird, she's just like so all things, and she's like, I am the going to parade about in tiny wee knickers so that you can get off, pal. And so the two of them trying to pretend like they were trying out as strippers was just hugely hysterical to me and immensely enjoyable. This short story was definitely a 5-star. It added some really nice light relief at the end of the last book, and the past two books have sort of taken on some darker themes and darker subject matters, and so to just have like Pam and Suki cutting about in their pants was hysterical. It was just what was needed. So that is everything that I've been reading this week. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that you're reading at the moment. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!